name's Mike DeLucia. I'm a writer, a novelist, a screenwriter. Every novel that I write, I first write the screenplay because the ultimate goal is to make movies. That's my ultimate goal. It's the biggest teacher, it's the biggest influence. And I was born in the Bronx, in a very Italian neighborhood, not too far from here, in 1960. I'm the second son of Joseph and Serafina Di Lucia, if we want to use the Italian version, both first-generation Italian Americans. And we grew up in a very proud household. My father, when I was a kid, he used to say to me, "Michael, we taught the world, Michael. Don't you forget it, we taught the world." And my father didn't mean to say that Italians were the only teachers of the world, but that our contributions were many, they were vast, and as he would say, as priceless as the Sistine Chapel. And as I grew, I realized, I understood why my father was proud of being Italian. And first thing was the Roman Empire. Rome conquered the known world and changed the known world. They improved the known world. They did it through transportation and communication. We all heard of Roman roads, right? Those roads are still around today, so many of them. They did it through arts and culture and trade. They created aqueducts and sewer systems, some of which are still in use today. They created architecture and government. And they did this for a period of over 500 years. So they put an imprint on the world for over 500 years. And we put that into perspective, the United States isn't even around 250 years. And then Rome fell, and for a period of about 320 years, a period marked as the Dark Ages, where it was a decline in intellectual and cultural and financial states. But then it rises once again in the Italian Renaissance, where we meet the thinker and the entrepreneur and the painter, Leonardo da Vinci. I'm sure you've seen a lot of these inventions, and certainly The Last Supper. Michelangelo, the great sculptor and painter. There was Dante, the writer, Machiavelli, the philosopher. Petrarch was the poet who influenced William Shakespeare. And there's Raphael, the great painter of Madonnas. I'm sure you guys have seen those angels. They're around all the time. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Donatello, the sculptor, because then I would have all 4 Ninja Turtles, and that would bring us into perspective. So from the Italian Renaissance, Italians continually contributed to the world in a huge way. They produced world-renowned composers and musicians and singers, dancers, actors, directors, writers, producers, athletes, politicians, mathematicians, physicists, entrepreneurs, and really in every facet of society. Italians gave us the piano, the violin, the cello. Italians created ballet, opera, the thermometer, the barometer, the telephone, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Maserati, Bugatti, Gucci, Armani, Versace, Prada, Prosecco, pizza, pretzels, gelato, eyeglasses, shopping malls. They also gave us great people like Volta, the creator of the first electric battery, Marconi, the creator of the first radio, Enrico Fermi, the Nobel Prize winning physicist who was instrumental in the creation of the atom bomb. Well, when we talk about the atom bomb, a lot of people talk about Einstein and Oppenheimer, but Fermi, he laid the groundwork. Fermi was in the trenches with them. Now, why make a big deal about that? Why make a big deal about the atom bomb that seems to be destructive? You know who else was working on the atom bomb? Germany. There was a race to create this bomb. What would have happened if they created it first? Think about that for a minute. So through Enrique Fermi's work, he changed the world, to me, in a much better place. And in all this time, through the Renaissance and the Roman Empire and all the great stuff that I mentioned, Hollywood, the great influencer, the great teacher, has categorized Italians in one of two ways. We are either mafia, right? We've seen all of these films. Or we're unintelligent, unrefined individuals who curse profusely and constantly eat. I'm going to show a clip right now of the quintessential Italian, the stereotype, whereas this is a comedy, a couple of clicks in either direction and this character can be in a drama as well. And in this movie, City Slickers, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it, starring Billy Crystal, Mr. Morelli has come to an elementary school class on career day, and he talks about his career.
With your ball breaker of a job, right? And we got the area roped off, you know, so that some schmuck don't walk through there and take a wrecking ball between the eyes. All of a sudden, this woman, you know, with the big dark glasses, the Bloomingdale bags, she starts walking right through the ropes. I yelled down at her, "Hey, you can't go there, you stupid bitch." And suddenly, this big steam fit bursts, and this enormous goddamn crane crashes right down on her legs. And she's screaming, "My legs, my legs!" And I say, "No shit, your legs. You got a 2,000-pound goddamn crane on." Now, do you know how in an emergency you can get like superhuman strength? I reach down and I lift this crane, and the nest was able to slide around from under, and the doctors were able to save her legs. So the moral is, don't walk where you're not supposed to walk, because there may not be somebody with superhuman strength to save your little ass. And don't do drugs. That's it.
So this is the stereotypical Italian American that Hollywood loves to put out there. Aside from comedies, which, you know, City Slickers is definitely a comedy. Hollywood, and we can't really mention them, you know, comedies in the sense because the whole point of the genre is to laugh at the characters, right? We're talking about serious films here. Hollywood has only produced a handful of films in the last 50, 60 years that depict Italians opposite to the stereotype or without a stereotype. The Karate Kid, there's no stereotype in there. It just happens to be Italian. It's a cute movie. You know, Under the Tuscan Sun, you know, it takes place mostly in Italy. It can almost be a romantic comedy. You know, the film 9 is a drama, but that takes place solely in Italy as well. Gladiator, another one. The one film that I really commend Hollywood for making is Unbroken. It's a true story about an Italian American in World War II who was in a work camp in Japan. And the director and the producers focus on the story, not on the stereotype. But mostly they bring in the stereotype, right? We've all seen it. I mean, recently films like The Irishman, The Many Saints of Newark, the cable series, The Offer, you know, they represent the overt stereotype. You know, there's no questioning it. But it's films like Ford vs. Ferrari that drop a more subtle hint and creates an even deeper psychological imprint on this idea. In Ford versus Ferrari, it's about Ford's goal to beat Ferrari at Le Mans, this race. That's the goal of the story. But at one point, Ferrari is up for sale, and Ford wants to buy Ferrari. So a team of two go there, or a team goes there. Lee Iacocca is one of them, and he's with an assistant, and they're in Italy. They're about to meet the Italian entourage outside Maserati's, Ferrari's headquarters. And Iacocca leans over to his assistant in an aside, and he says, "You gotta understand, this is like the mafia showing up to buy the Statue of Liberty." This movie has nothing to do with the mafia. It has very little to do with Italy. But yet in Hollywood, where there's Italians, there's mafia. We might know The Punisher. It was a comic, cable series, and a film. It's about Frank Castle, AKA Francis Castiglione, who becomes this particularly ruthless vigilante because his family is murdered by the mafia. Where there's Italians, there is mafia. That is conditioning, that is propagandism, that is the foundation of pedagogy. Keep showing a repeated statement or image, and eventually people will get that in their brain. It's not that Hollywood set up to deface an entire ethnicity, but their films have had a global brainwashing, I call it. They've affected the opinions of people all over the world. A friend of mine recently went to the Caribbean with her family, and it was my friend and her husband and their two kids. And when they went out to eat, the maitre d', or the person in charge, sees their name on the list, and he says, "Oh, okay, I have a perfect table for you guys. I'm going to put you at a table where your backs aren't to the door." And she said, "What's that supposed to mean?" He said, "Well, you know, you're Italian." And she said, "I'm insulted by that comment." And when she told me about it, because she knows that I talk about this stuff, I said, "You know, you cannot blame his ignorance." I said, "What was he, like 30 years old or so? You know?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "This is what he's learned his whole life about Italians." All Italians don't drink wine. All Italians aren't vengeful. All Italians, you know, don't have bad tempers. All Italians don't sit around a table with bibs on at night eating pasta. Hollywood has had a field day with the Italian dinner table. In this next scene, you'll see, and this is a more serious film, Saturday Night Fever. We have a very stereotypical Hollywood version of how Italians eat.
Every day it's the same thing. I come home and tell me I'm late for dinner, and you know that I gotta work till 6 o'clock. I can't make it on time.
Should have been a priest like your brother. You wouldn't worry about a job.
Yeah.
Every time you mention Frank Jr., you gotta cross yourself.
He's a priest, ain't he? Father Frank Jr., your brother.
Your mother doesn't have too much to cross herself about these days.
He's not just French.
Oh, shut up, will you? And shut, watch the show, stupid.
Basta! Benjamin! Yeah. Go ahead. I got more pork chops and spaghetti.
What do you mean you got more pork chops? I'm not at work.
Yeah, well, as long as we got $1 left, we eat good in this house.
What?
Yeah, I might even get a job myself.
Okay. 25 years of construction work, I've always brought home a paycheck. What, 6, 7 months I'm out of work? Then all of a sudden, what? You're talking back. Talking about getting a job and hitting me.
All right, no hitting, no slapping at the dinner table, okay? That's you was going to say.
You never hit me before. Never. Not for a kiss. One pork chop! One!
Hey, Frank!
It's disgusting, I'm sick.
Would you
hair a long time, and you hit it. He hits my hair.
Again, like I said, they've had a field day with the Italian dinner table, talking loud, screaming at each other across the table, dropping F-bombs constantly, right? We've all seen this. No one ever screamed at anybody around my dinner table. No one ever dropped F-bombs around the table at my house when I was growing up. Neither did they when we went to my grandparents' house or my aunts and uncles' house. I didn't raise my kids that way. I've never seen that kind of behavior when I had dinner with my friends in Italy. I've never seen it when I've been with family in Italy. In fact, the only time I've ever seen that behavior around an Italian dinner table is in the movies. Have you ever seen an Italian in a film as the thinker in a room? Can you imagine a film where an Italian plays the President of the United States? Have you seen films where Italians are physicists, mathematicians, medical professionals? Now, I didn't come here today to talk about the accomplishments of Italians. I came here to talk about a silent prejudice. A prejudice that was created, packaged, and sold by over 50 years of Hollywood images. I came here to create awareness in our woke, politically correct society. And I hope that this information was beneficial or is beneficial to you and to the Italian people. And I thank you for your time.